Stop being mean to Tori. She didn't know. She didn't know that the South Koreans were supposed to be here and that they were here legally. She didn't know.
This is sarcasm for those
just
still
a
not
little
catching
baby. How was she supposed to know they were supposed to be here to help build that facility if nobody told her?
So there's this woman in Georgia who just went online bragging that she's the reason 475 Hyundai workers got arrested. She thought she was exposing some shady labor practices. But here's the reality. She may have just cost her state nearly 9,000 future jobs. Here's how it went down. Hyundai, yes, the Korean car company, was in the middle of building a massive new facility in Georgia. Now, since this factory was designed and engineered in Korea, they brought in Korean specialists to handle the construction and train the future American workforce. The plan was crystal clear: finish the facility, then hire thousands of Georgians to run it. But she didn't see that. All she saw were foreigners taking jobs. So she picks up the phone, calls ICE, and says she's doing it to protect Georgia workers. ICE raids the site. Over 400 specialists are detained, construction stalls, and now the investors are seriously considering pulling the plug on the entire hire facility. So instead of bringing jobs, she may have just scared away one of the biggest economic opportunities Georgia's had in years. And the wildest part, she's running for Congress while bragging about it, like she just scored a win. In her head, she thought she secured jobs for Georgians. In reality, she may have handed Georgia one of the biggest economic losses in recent memory. That's not America first. That's Georgia dead last.
I was the one that reported 452 illegals apprehended at the Hyundai mega plant construction site yesterday near Savannah.
The woman who just went online bragging about being the reason 475 people were just arrested. It didn't go the way that you thought, did it? Because the way that you were so happy to share with the world voluntarily that you were the one that contacted ICE, that got that Hyundai plant that was in the middle of being constructed, completely shut down. And over 400 people arrested, most of them being Koreans, which you seemed kind of confused about until you realized that Hyundai is owned by Koreans. And that the reason they had so many people from other countries here was because they knew they were going to have to train Americans to do this job. Because all of their instructions from Korea were in Korean. So they got approval to send people here to the United States to construct their massive facility.
She thought she was doing the right thing. But what if her tip changed everything? Imagine a $4+ billion Hyundai battery plant in Georgia. Hundreds of workers accused. 475 arrested. Diplomatic fires lit. An investment at risk. One name at the center. Tori Branum, Congress hopeful, ex-Marine and now the woman claiming credit for setting ICE into motion. Did she expose unsafe work conditions or trigger an economic disaster? Stay tuned. This is not just politics. This is everything.
I have received so many death threats, at least 2,000 in my texts, my website, my Facebook, my email. Just know I'm very aware of my surroundings. I will sense you hundreds of yards away. I will know when my environment is unstable. And if you at any point make me feel like I'm in fear of my life, if you make it out alive, you'll spend a lot of time in jail, which you probably won't. So don't come near me. You better calm down the threats, and all your information is being reported. I have sat back and I have laughed so much this week. Imagine living in Oregon, California, or some other Democrat shithole and thinking you're flexing because you're telling me I am not going to vote for you. You don't have my vote. You've ruined the Georgia economy. One, why are you worried about the Georgia economy? And two, I'm in District 12, Georgia. That's 22 counties, 2 partial counties, and only 1 county votes Democrat. So you can't vote for me, nor would you anyway. And a civics class would have cured that illness. But you know what? Y'all do you, and it's unfortunate that you're so misinformed, and I'm glad that you don't vote. You probably don't vote, and that's a good thing, because if you did, you wouldn't be informed. Oh, and y'all get mad as hell when I don't respond to you, and when I block you, you seek me out on some other platform and ask me why I blocked you. Do you realize how mentally ill you look? Do you realize you're proving the point that we need to bring back mental health reform? And you can say whatever you want that you saw online, found online, whatever, but just keep telling my testimony, honey.
That lady who called ICE on those South Koreans at the Hyundai plant in Georgia,
South Korea responded. Yeah, y'all remember this lady who claimed to call ICE because the union workers couldn't get jobs. They weren't allowing Americans to get jobs. But really, it was just South Koreans bringing over people to build this Hyundai plant in order to set it up and get Americans to come and learn how to set up these Hyundai parts. Yeah, she's made a fool of herself. Over $300 billion was invested to bring South Koreans over, build up this Hyundai plant so that they can open up jobs to Americans to come in and learn from these South Koreans in order to build jobs, manufacturing, and all that for Americans. And she called ICE and got them detained and shackled. South Korea had to come and tell our government to unshackle their workers, who, mind you, again, they were on visas. They had work visas to be over here. South Korea told America, unshackle them. We're sending a charter plane. I know they like to say, oh, we sent a charter plane to bring them back to South Korea. No, South Korea sent that charter plane, not America. This is why I say racism is it's just so, you can't do nothing but laugh at racism. Because this lady, I think her name is like Tori Branum or something like that, Branum. This lady has nothing tied to this Georgia plant. Nothing tied to the car industry, nothing tied to any manufacturing industry ever. So my question is, and it's always the case, I swear to you, this is always the case when stuff like this happens. It's always by somebody that has no ties to any type of job. Their job isn't even related to the manufacturing. So why do you care? Why did she feel so obligated enough to go out of her way and do this? She has since then deleted her account. She tried to make multiple videos accounting or trying to back up like she didn't do it. She said a video, well, it wasn't actually me who called ICE. You came on this internet and made this video for what? I don't know. Did you expect people to rally behind you? Because it was the dumbest decision and it cost America billions of dollars. And again, she had zero ties to this. I doubt she knew anyone who even wanted to be in that manufacturing position. In fact, even if she claims she did, and if anyone claims that we were waiting on jobs, you couldn't even work the job because you don't have the knowledge or information on how to build this plant. So South Korea responded. They said that they're not doing it. South Korea said that they're done. If y'all don't know, the people in South Korea, they're protesting this. They're telling South Korea to not bring these people back. Billions of dollars is going down the drain for America. Over 8,000 jobs are gone now, all because of the decisions of one person. And she came on the internet and thought that she did the right thing. She did not think that this was the case. She thought that she was detaining other immigrants, the bad ones. It's crazy, man. The stuff that we have to deal with, the stuff that we have to go through for the next 3 years, it's still the first year. We haven't even gone through a whole year.
This has been a very humbling week for me. And I'm just going to bite the head off the snake. With the information on this mailer that's going around. And I'm going to address some things. I'm going to be very humble about it. People didn't like what I had to say about illegal immigration. They jumped the gun on the whole thing that I reported. I probably should have been more precise in my first video that I did. I didn't realize that, there were Koreans involved in the whole debacle. But there were mailers going around that the conservative Georgians sent out when I ran for Senate for 9 weeks last year, saying that, or the state Senate, saying that I didn't share their values. Clearly their values of not creating jobs for Georgians, creating PACs to basically run horrible smear campaigns on grassroots candidates to never give them a chance to take office. And the values of their drunk wives going to parties telling people they voted for Biden, those kind of values. What they talked about was three things that I'm going to come out and talk about. I'm going to cut the head off the snake. Now, everything that people share about me is my testimony. I've overcame a lot in my life. But I do feel like what I went through and the Marine Corps experience and failed relationships is part of my testimony and how I am as strong as I am today and the person that I am today. And you don't always see the compassionate side of me. Most of the time I'm really kind to anyone unless they push my buttons. But I want to address the mailer because I'm not above that. And when you share that, you share my testimony. So you're going to see on there that I had 5 divorces. And that's correct. It didn't come from a place of not believing in the sanctity of marriage, or not that I didn't try. I think a lot of it stems from not having a good example of a marriage, growing up with a single mom, and mixed with not taking crap off of people and allowing them to treat me however they want. There may have been some infidelity and some abuse, and I don't think anybody goes into a marriage not wanting it to work out. I don't really believe in marriage anymore as the legal aspect. I believe it's more about the vows. But if people want to go, they should go. I don't think anybody should be trapped in a piece of paper and stay in something because they can't financially afford to get away. Okay. I have grown in my relationship with Christ, which has changed a lot about my decisions and how I handle my relationships. When I've dated a lot, because I'm not going to jump into a marriage after learning what I've learned. When you see the eviction on there, that was actually due to my divorce after being in a 10-year marriage where I stayed home with my children. Finished my bachelor's degree while I was staying home with 5 children. Started my master's program. Realized I couldn't stay in that marriage anymore. It wasn't safe for me. I moved to an apartment and I couldn't afford it because I didn't have anything in my name. I didn't have any assets. And so I had to move out. And of course it came up as an eviction. So they put that on the mailer. The bankruptcy, I don't know if you realize, but a lot of young military get taken advantage of when it comes to buying cars and loans and things when they're near these military bases. Nonetheless, I got in over my head, and when I was 21 years old, I filed bankruptcy. They put that on there too. The arrest was also during my divorce, same situation. My kids were in the house. They had been home with me their entire lives. We were doing week on and week off. My daughter called me and said, "Mom, I need to talk to you. I miss you." I went over there. He shut the door in my face. I took his door out. My lawyer worked it out, figured out the reasons behind that. It was dropped. It was a sponge. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what kind of illegal activity that they did to dig that up. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I've learned a lot from my testimony. I've grown in my relationship with God. We all make mistakes. One thing is about me is I'm honest, pure, I'm a listener, and I will fight for the American people. So I just wanted to put that to rest. I've gotten a lot of death threats. I'm not going to cry about it. I was the one that put it out there that I did talk to an ICE agent, and I do know there was slave trafficking happening out there and all those other things. I believe what these professional people told me that were working out there. I saw some evidence. And it's not just happening here. It's happening all over Georgia and in other states, and it needs to be addressed. And it will be addressed. But I just wanted to share that part of myself. And, everybody has a past. Just hope that yours isn't made national, because it's not a good feeling when people don't understand where you come from or what you stand for.
Hyundai, and LG launched a massive joint venture in Georgia, $4 to $4.3 billion bet on green energy and batteries. It promised thousands of jobs, a surge in local growth, and a signal that America was serious about clean tech. Construction kicked off with experts flown in, many from South Korea working under visas or subcontracting networks. But rumors soon spread, talk of undocumented labor, unsafe conditions, whispers of exploitation. And Tori Branum, a Republican congregational candidate in Georgia, she filed complaints directly to ICE. Not long after, federal agents stormed the site, and in one sweep, 175 workers were detained, many of them South Korean nationals. The fallout was immediate. Hyundai stressed none of those detained were its direct hires. Local media questioned what was true. Now, South Korea demanded answers, and the investment suddenly looked shaky. The consequences ran deep. First, trust. Foreign investors expect stability and predictable labor rules in America. Raids like this raise doubts. And then there is the human cost. Workers, some with valid visas, some not, suddenly locked up, confused, afraid, and reports emerged of mocking, unclear rights, and even harsh treatment. Then there is politics. Branum framed her move as exposing lawlessness and unsafe conditions. Critics called it political theater, a candidate using law enforcement to score points, regardless of the damage. There is an international sting too, where South Korea, a close US partner, saw its citizen detained and its pride bruised. Businesses ask, if skilled workers can be treated this way, why invest or partner here? And now diplomats worry about the signal America is sending. Legally, the situation sits in the gray. If there were real safety violations, they deserved attention. But why a raid before confirming facts? What about due processes? What about oversight? What happens when political ambition drives enforcement instead of policy? In the end, this isn't a clean story. It's messy, painful, and consequential. Branum says she's proud, claiming she stood for law and borders. Others see recklessness, billions at risk, communities traumatized, trust fractured, and that leaves a bigger question hanging. If one person's tip can unleash this kind of chaos, what happens next time? Who ensures fairness? Who protects the powerless when politics becomes the trigger?